I read 45 books in the months of July and August. Yes, you heard that right, 45 books. And that is because I start school in less than a couple days. Like my classes are open. I am able to do assignments now already. And I think a part of me was like, I need to work through my physical TBR because I had so many books on my TBR. I recently redid my bookshelves. I mildly decorated for fall. An in-depth bookshelf tour will be coming soon if it's not up already on my channel. I've edited it. It is ready to go. But yeah, a part of me was like, well, when school starts, I'm not going to have enough time to read. And that is true. That is true. I will definitely have way less free time to read. And in my head, I'm like, I need to read through some of my physical TBR. Anyway, I read 45 books. Most of them are copies of books that I have, but of course, I also listen to audiobooks when they're available on Libby, and I also read on my Kindle. So a couple books were from my Kindle, a few of them were from audiobooks, and then I have a beautiful stash here. There's 2 stacks. And yeah, let's talk about the 45 books that I have read in the past couple months. And today is Tuesday, August 28th. So August is technically not over yet, and I do have the next couple days off, but I don't know if I'll actually like read. I should really be focusing on some schoolwork. Yeah, anyway, we're gonna move on. I started off the month of July with One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I love Carly Fortune's books. They're very perfect summer reads, so perfect timing to read them. I listened to the audiobook of this book when it was available on Libby, and I figured Charlie had something going on that he wasn't telling Alice, which also the nickname he has for her is so cute. But yeah, this book was super fun. I love a good like beachside, lakeside summer romance. I love the fling that obviously turns into a real relationship because romance. And yeah, I got that we got to see Sam and Percy again. I love Every Summer After with Sam and Percy. So yeah, I was obsessed with this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. Not very spicy, but like really good, really quick, very easy, like summer read, and I loved it. Next up, I read One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. This book follows our main character, Katie. Her mom recently passes away, and she is obviously like her mom is her best friend. They are very close, and she decides to take this Italian trip that she had been planning with her mom. And then when she gets to Italy, there's some weird like time jumping happening there that she doesn't quite realize. Rebecca Searle is really good at magical realism, so obviously it's the real world, but making you feel like there's just like a little bit of magic, a little bit of time jumping, a little bit of like, you know, some like fairy dust sprinkled on your real life or something. But I think there was the cheating trope in this book, which cheating shouldn't be a trope. Let's be clear about that. But I forget exactly what happens, but I'm pretty sure this was 2 months ago at this point, by the way. Like, it's not just me and my pea brain that doesn't remember anything. This was so long ago that I read these books sometimes, and I just like some books don't stay in my brain as they should, and this was not one of them. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. Like, it was entertaining while I read it, but you know, yeah, I remember it was sad again because she just lost her mom, but you know, it was just, yeah, it was an okay book. I give it 3.5 stars. Next up, funnily enough, on the 4th of July, I was not having 4th of July vibes because, well, here we are. We just had a very like really sad, like tragic thing happen literally yesterday in Minneapolis. And it's just, sometimes I am like, why am I in this country? Like, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just like, sometimes I'm genuinely just like, it sucks here. Like, genuinely. And I will say that on the internet because look who our president is. He's a clown. Anyway, the reason that I even brought this up was because on the 4th of July, I read this book, Beacon of Hope, The Life of Barack Obama. It's like, or I listened to the audiobook. It was like 45 minutes. It literally was not, I don't even know if I should count this as a book, but it literally was just like how he grew and became a senator and eventually became president. Like, and I was just there like, wow, I miss you, President Obama. Yeah, like America misses President Obama, especially on the 4th of July. That just really hit home. And especially like today, like what are we living in? We are in a dystopian. I have read so many fantasy books and like it feels like real life is more dystopian than half of these books that I've read. Like what the actual, moving on. Moving on. The next book that I read in July this is a chunky book, but this is Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. This is the final book in the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, and I am obsessed with this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I honestly don't remember why I didn't give it 5 stars. Like, I'm trying to remember, and yeah. But I remember just, I loved the ending of this book. I loved how it was so nicely wrapped up. I love that they end up with, okay, I'm not going to spoil it because you got to read the rest of the series, but like Max and Tasana get their happily ever after, of course, because it's a romantasy, but just like, I loved the magic system in this world. Like, I was very confused when I started with Daughter of No Worlds about the whole magic system, but of course, as you read the books, it's, it makes a little bit more sense. It makes a lot more sense. And then, yeah, I am obsessed with the ending of this book, and like, I want to erase my brain and go back and start the series all over again so that I can relive it all over again. I'm just so excited. I feel like this is going to be one of the series that I do reread as the years go on, and I am here for it. I'm here for it. If anyone has book 2, which is Children of Fallen Gods, in the OG indie covers, I want that book. I will buy it off you, please. I want to complete the trilogy on my shelves, and I want it. I want it so bad. So if you have book 2, Children of Fallen Gods, send me a message, leave me a comment. Like, I will happily take that book off your hands if you are willing to part ways with it. Anyway, moving on. Next book I read in July was Not a Happy Family by Shari Lapina. I'm trying to remember, I think like their parents get murdered and everyone is suspecting the kids because they all have inconsistent stories. And I remember this was very entertaining to read. I was not surprised to find out who actually murdered their parents, but I remember it was entertaining, and I give it 3 stars because most thriller books are like, okay, like they're fine, they're 3-star reads. But yeah, this was an okay thriller book. Next up in July, I read Great Big Beautiful Life. I actually listened to the audiobook of this, and then literally I think a couple days later I found the book at Goodwill, so it was obviously meant to be. But I think this might be my favorite Emily Henry book, or maybe my second favorite. Book Lovers is still up there, so yeah, I think this is my second favorite Emily Henry book. And this book gave me the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes, with the like recluse former super famous person who is now like disappeared for decades and just like is telling their story. And I don't know, I think Book Lovers is still my favorite, but this was such a fun read. I remember I ate it up so fast. Like, yeah, like Maggie or Peggy, I think it was her name, she's as sassy as Evelyn Hugo was sassy, and that just like, it gave me so much joy. Like, I gave this book 4.5 stars, and I will definitely, like, this is one of the Emily Henry books that I'm like, yep, I recommend you to read this book. I loved it so much. It wasn't super spicy, and it was just very entertaining. Like, she was controlling the narrative of what she wanted to be told, just like Evelyn Hugo. Again, I'm gonna compare it to Evelyn Hugo because that is also one of my favorite books ever. And yeah, this book gave me those vibes, and that is why I think I love it so much. So yeah. Next up in July, I read Set the Record Straight by Hannah Bonham Young. This is actually a little holiday novella. I was feeling Christmas in July vibes, so it was super fun. I gave it 5 stars. It was a super short audiobook to listen to, and it was a friends to lovers, fake dating, all the tropes that I love. And I just love a good gay awakening, and Evan and Clara were super cute. They were it for me, and I loved it so much. 5 stars. I want to read more books by Hannah Bonham Young. I am obsessed with books by Hannah Bonham Young so far. Next up in July, I finally finished the Dreamland Billionaire series. I read Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This was my favorite Lauren Asher book, I think, to this day. I gave it 4.75 stars. I was obsessed. I love the fact that his family, Cal's family, called him out on his BS and his addiction and everything. Like, this book was so good because you are rooting for him to just be better and do better and get better, and he is just being a little shit. And it annoyed me so much, and it pissed me off so much, but just like, I'm obsessed. I love that Lana didn't like immediately trust him when he was like, I'm doing better, like, because BS, I call BS, everyone calls BS, and like his actions continued to piss me off throughout this book. I'm not gonna lie, I was just like, Cal! Like, I wanted to shake this man and shake some sense into him, but like, he just, listen, the book is worth it. I honestly, they are interconnected standalone, so you can read them without reading the other two. If I had just read this book, I feel like I would have loved the other two better, but here we are. But yeah, this one is my favorite book of Lauren Asher's so far, and I started the Dirty Air series. I've talked about it a couple times already on my channel. I hated book 2 of the Dirty Air series, so I'm glad this happened, and maybe my faith in Lauren Asher is now restored. But yeah, love this book. Love this book so much. It's like my favorite of Lauren Asher's books to date. Next up in July, I read My Sister, the Serial Killer. And I will be completely honest with you, I do not remember a thing that happened in this book, but I profusely remember being very confused at the end of this book. I was like, what? If I'm not mistaken, she had boyfriends who just kept dying, and everyone is like, what the why are your boyfriends constantly dying? I think that is all I remember. But yeah, like I was confused. I gave it 3 stars because I think I was entertained while reading it, but like I was confused. So yeah, I feel like I need to go back and reread it so that I can maybe see, like I can remember what happened in this book, and maybe my rating will change. But yeah. Next up in July, I read book 2 of The Legacy of Orisha. This is Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. This book, I believe, ended on a cliffhanger, which I was like immediately, and I did immediately read book 3 in the series. But Zell or Zelly, I've been calling her Zell in my mind, but I think it's Zelly, and Amari, like their journey makes me so happy. Like the prince, if you have not read Children of Blood and Bone, you should. That book is amazing. And then this one was amazing. Like I'm just obsessed with this world. I am obsessed with African stories. Like I am obsessed with stories that are I'm obsessed. Anyway, after reading Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I read Children of Anguish and Anarchy. Like, I think this book was a little bit unnecessary. Like, I feel like a little bit could have been added to Children of Virtue and Vengeance and kind of wrapped up the story nicely. Like, I think that book was 400-ish pages. They could have made it, or Tomi Adeyemi could have made it like 550 pages-ish and then like wrapped up the story. But I did have a good time. I actually listened to this audiobook and Cynthia Erivo narrated it, and I think that is why I had a great time. Because Cynthia Erivo was the narrator for this book. But yeah, like the journey that all these characters went on, I will not tell you anything that happens because those are major spoilers. You should read Children of Blood and Bone first. But the journey that, Zelly, Zane, Iman, Amari, like the journey they all went on was fantastic. Like I want to reread the series as well. There's so many good series that I've read in 2025, by the way, that I just want to reread. Like, hello, what was going on and what is going on in 2025? Yeah, it's my escapism. It's because I'm trying to run away from real life. That is why I've been reading such good books. But these, like Children of Blood and Bone, The Legacy of Orisha trilogy, obsessed. Love it so much. This book is a little bit unnecessary, but it is so pretty because I love the sprayed edges on my shelves. Next up in July, I listened to Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter. I have read another book by Lynn Painter. I don't even remember. Better Than the Movies. I have read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Loved that book so much. So when this became available on Libby, I was like, absolutely, I will listen to it. But this was such a cute book. Liz, I believe was her name, orders her drink. And of course, the line is super long because it's Starbucks. And when somebody else's drink comes up, Amy, she says, yep, I'm Amy because, they have the same drink. And she turns around and spills it on her new boss, who thinks her name is Amy now. And we go from there. But yeah, I thought it was so cute. I remember the character Liz, she was just like unapologetically herself. And of course, he fell for her, she fell for him, blah, 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 blah. Beautiful little romance. I give it 4 stars. It was really cute. Next up in July, I read The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy. I will say there are aspects of this book that I actually really loved, but for some reason, I did not get the same heartfelt feeling that I got from The Graham Effect and The Dixon Rule. This book, I gave it 3.5 stars, maybe 3.75 stars. I don't remember what I decided to rate it on Storygraph, but I really loved, so there are aspects of this book that I loved. Like I said, Charlie, she was looking into her past, trying to find her lost sibling. I really love that. Will finally got to stand up to his dad and just like, we have seen a little bit of Will in the other books previously, The Graham Effect, The Dixon Rule. We've seen that. So like finally in this book, I was like, yes, I love that. I even loved the polyamory in this book, like Charlie, Will, and Beckett. Like, yes, absolutely. I have recently read some books with like reverse harem. I think that's the trope, but just like polyamory. And I'm here for it. But like, I don't know, at the end of this book, I remember finishing The Graham Effect and I was like, oh my goodness, that was so good. Probably because it reminded me of Icebreaker and I loved Icebreaker. And then I remember finishing The Dixon Rule and I was like, whoa, like that is so good. And I was so excited to read The Charlie Method. So I feel like, and this is what happens, and I've mentioned this in my previous video, reorganizing my bookshelf as well, but I feel like I have been reading some meh books lately. And granted, the book before this was not a meh book, but I don't know, I've just been in like a meh headspace, I think, and I think it started like mid-July when I read this book. And so I will read like books that I think are really, really good, but in my head I'm like, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Like they don't live up to the expectations that I have in my brain. So then the books, like, I feel like I need to reread this after reading like a 5-star read and see if my opinion changes on this book. But anyway, for now, it wasn't my favorite in this little trilogy thing, interconnected standalone, but it was really good. It was an entertaining time. I loved it. I even loved the polyamory. Like I said, like, I'm not polyamorous, but I'm here for it. So yeah, this was The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy. Next up in July, I read If Love Had a Price. I honestly was just trying to get through the rest of this series because I want to get to the Kings of Sin series soon. So I wanted to read this, but I forget what her name is, but she offers Nate a lot of money to seduce her stepmom, and that didn't work. Obviously. And well, he needed the money, but he also was like, well, I'll do it, but I'm going to add some rules, to this bargain that we're doing. I'm going to add some rules to the contract that we're signing. But yeah, it was, I don't know. It was entertaining. I gave it 3 stars. I don't remember anything else that happened in it, but it was entertaining. So yeah. Next up, I actually listened to This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal. I will have the picture on the screen here. This was a little time travel romance, which was fun, but a little bit confusing. And they're in a war. They are rivals and they're writing letters back and forth to each other. And then the head of the one place is like trying to figure out who's revealing all their secrets. It was okay. Again, I don't remember much that happened in this book. And maybe it's because I listened to it. And sometimes I know, like, when I'm listening to audiobooks, I will just sit still and listen to this audiobook. So like when people say audiobooks aren't reading, like, we don't need to get into that conversation right now. But I know other times I'm also just like doing other stuff, like I'm doing chores and it's just kind of in the background. So I feel like that might have been what happened with this book, because I was just like, when it was done, I was like, oh, okay. And that was it, So yeah, I know a friend of mine in my book club loved this book. So I think I need to give it another shot and maybe like read the physical copy or read the ebook. So that might be a reread in 2026. But yeah, we will get to it. And then I finished up If We Were Perfect by Anna Huang. This was actually my favorite book in this entire series, and I only gave it 3.5 stars. And I say only, it's because every other book in the series was just like a 3-star read for me. And I love a good second chance romance, and I think this is why I love this book, is because they met on their summer abroad in book 1. So sorry, Olivia and Sammy, they met on their summer abroad trip to Italy, like in book 1, in If We Were Never Meet Again, whatever that book was called. And something happened, they part ways, and then they come back together 8 years later. And I don't know, I love a good second chance romance. I thought it was cute, and he was taking care of her, she was taking care of her. Yeah, it was super fun. This was my favorite in the entire series, and now that I'm done, I'm excited because I can finally get to the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang, and I didn't want to start that while I was in the middle of this, so I'm glad this is done now. Next up, I read The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I loved The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and genuinely, after finishing this book, my only comment that I wrote was, what even happened in this book? I gave it 2 stars. The narrator was very unreliable, obviously, and kept inserting himself into the story, which I don't... Yeah. Again, I think I was in a meh headspace, so this book was kind of victim to my every book sucks headspace, but I genuinely am like, what was that? What happened in this book? So yeah. Next up, I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I loved this book. This was a book that was almost a 5-star read for me, but it wasn't quite there. But I love this book. Emma is a travel nurse. I am a nurse. I would love to be a travel nurse someday, but I'm starting school in a couple days, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But she is a travel nurse because she doesn't like being in one place for too long, and we get to find out why she's a travel nurse and why she's kind of honestly like running from her problems all the time and always on the go and never settling down. And this was a sad book, but it was so cute. It was so sweet. She and Justin have this like curse where the person they date ends up finding their happily ever after right after dating them. So they decide to get together and date so they can cancel out that curse so that they can find their happily ever after. And of course they end up, it's a romance book. But no, this was so cute. Sad in some spots. Her mom pissed me off. I loved this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. Like, it was almost a 5-star read for me, but it definitely was like, it lifted my spirits after reading some very unfortunate books back to back to back. Anyway, moving on. Next up, I read Body Check by Elle Kennedy. I thought this was a really cute book. It was a sports romance with a little bit of mystery. Like, I was wondering whether what's his face was like a liar the entire time, and I really like that aspect of this book. Brody was playing for her dad's team, so like there's like a little bit of a forbidden love there, like they shouldn't be together, and just I thought this was really cute. I gave it 3.5 stars just because it was very short and like not much really happened in this book, but like it was a fun time when I read it. So yeah. Next up, I read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I read this on my Kindle, and I have a bone to pick with fantasy books now, because I genuinely was like, okay, I have read this book already. Does that make sense? Like Grumpy Sunshine, the Fae magic, you know, he is like grumpy and mad at the world, but he has a heart of gold and he will do anything for his people. He will save his people, blah, 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 blah. And the human, like the young, frail human who somehow ends up into that world, somehow turns into a fae or you know, magical being, somehow is the key to solving this thing in their world. Like, I feel like I have read this book already, so it's like copy and paste. And I forget who mentioned this in one of their like TBR videos or like one of their reading recap or reading blogs, but someone had mentioned how fantasy today is really just a copy and paste, and that this was the first time that I was like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Because I genuinely, like, I gave this book a 4-star. Quicksilver by Callie Hart, I gave this 4 stars. Like, it was entertaining, to be clear. It was a very entertaining read. But I'm like, it's kind of like all the hockey romances. It's like, been there, done that. You know, like, I have already read this story. This is just different names and different setting. You know, like, it's the same thing. So I don't know. And I think I'm at the point where I am glad we're going into fall, because I took a huge break from fantasy. Like, I don't remember how many. Yeah, I didn't read too many fantasies in the month of August. Like, I read Quicksilver still in July, like closer to the end of July, but I didn't read too many more fantasies. And I think that was good because I kind of reset the fantasy. Like, I feel like I had just, you know, going back to back, like after reading An Ember in the Ashes, which was so good, and then reading Children of Blood and Bone, which was so good. And then I read like other fantasy books that I was like, okay, I've already read this, you know? You know, like it was giving ACOTAR, you know, it was giving like Fourth Wing, even almost like it was giving, you know, frail human who shouldn't be here, you know, like this is not where you should be, but you somehow stumble your way into there, and then, oh look, you are the key to saving this entire world. And it's like, what, you know? Anyway, I digress. Next up in July, closer to the end of July, I reread my favorite book of all time, which is Red, White, and Royal Blue. I'm obsessed with this book. I tabbed it and it was a great time. I think I read this in like 4 hours, and I was like, I want a cozy read. I want a cozy reread. I'm just so happy that I did. It is a 5 out of 5 star read for me. My little sibling Xander actually recently read this book and gave it 3.75 stars. And they make good points by saying, you know, it's very like, here, I'm going to read the text message that they sent me because I thought it was hilarious. But am I getting too old / jaded to read YA romance? I've probably been too jaded for YA romance like 6th grade. Some of that I chalk up to being less of a flowery romantic words person the older I get. Like, there was a lot of prose and descriptions that were unnecessary, flowery, and pointlessly poetical, indulgent, and it was fun and interesting in the first 100 pages, but it got old fast. And I was like, okay. And also it's told in third person perspective, which I don't mind the third person perspective, but yeah, the point is anyway, the point is this can be my favorite book and not somebody else's favorite book, and that is obviously okay because, you know, everyone has different opinions on what they like and don't like. But genuinely, I feel like I want to reread this book every year from now on. Like, I just had such a great time. It was such a great like break from fantasy, and you know, yeah, I had a great time. It was fantastic. 5 out of 5 read. Will always be a 5 out of 5 read for me because I'm obsessed. Thank you, Casey McQuiston, for this masterpiece that I now have in my life. Next up in July, I feel like it took me like 3 months to get to, but I finally read Pucking Around by Emily Rath. And I have 2 thoughts. Okay, number 1, I loved the story in this book. Like, I love a little bit of a forbidden romance. Like, she is their doctor. She is the physical therapist of the Jacksonville Ray hockey players. And she gets into a relationship with not 1, not 2, but 3 of them. And after reading like that little novella that one night, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to get into this world. And like I still am. Like I do want to continue the series, but I genuinely was like, this is thought number two. The spice was honestly a little bit too much. I think this is the first book that I genuinely am like, whoa, that is too spicy, you know? And again, like obviously I knew this going into it. I knew that this was a spicy book going into it, but I don't think I knew how spicy it was going to be. So when I got there, I was like, whoa, very spicy. Again, I actually love the polyamory. I'm not polyamorous, but I love it. I love that people have so much love to share and are willing to share that with multiple people. And like, I'm obsessed with that. However, I was listening to this on audio and I genuinely was like, I feel like I shouldn't be here. You know, like I feel like I am intruding on some personal time right now and I should be doing something else and I should not be here right now. Anyway, it was a very entertaining story. Like I said, I love the story. I will continue the story. I personally gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because it was just too spicy for me. But now that I know that these books are hella spicy, I will go in with my expectations different, you know, and then hopefully I can just enjoy the story and like we can leave the spice behind, you know. But yeah, it was very entertaining. And I followed up, and this was in August, but I actually read the novella that comes after that, and it was also very entertaining, also very spicy, but like I knew that going in, you know? Anyway, next up in July, I read Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, and yes, this does give Red, White, and Royal Blue vibes, just because, you know, he's famous, or the son of a famous person, and his life is always in the tabloids, and then in Red, White, and Royal Blue, you know, they are the Prince of England and the first son of the US, you know? But I actually really love this book. I think some people don't like it because it's super similar to Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I was here for it. I love a good fake dating relationship. I think that is probably one of my favorite tropes, like friends to lovers / fake dating your friend and then eventually being in love. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is really entertaining. He looks for a fake boyfriend so he can appear to have a nice normal relationship, and he ends up being with this lawyer, or what did they call them? There's a British word for it, but he ends up getting together and entering into a fake dating relationship, and of course real feelings happen, and it was just really cute. I give it 4.75 stars just because it's not quite a 5-star read for me. Like it is not quite Red, White, and Royal Blue for me, but like even the cover is like, it's literally Red, White, and Blue. They're very similar, and I think that is why I actually love it. But yeah, 4.75 stars, very entertaining book. I'm gonna drink some water because my throat is about to give out. Next up, I started getting into the world of Geneva Rose, and I read You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I did not see this coming, like at all. Like I figured that there was fishy business going on in this like Airbnb ranch place that she showed up at, and I figured that, you know, someone obviously was being not completely honest, but I definitely did not see the twist at the end. Like I was thoroughly entertained. I give this book 4 stars because I love thriller books that just like I don't see the end coming. And yeah, like she comes to this cabin, she wants a break from her life, she goes to this like very like isolated ranch in the middle of I don't even know where. She meets the ranch owner dude who's like, yep, I'm just listing this place on Airbnb because I need a little bit of money, and they start to like each other, but his ex-girlfriend is there, and then there's like all these different characters who are all suspicious in all their ways, and then there's a missing girl who the cops are looking into and they don't understand where she is, and they keep coming back and asking the ranch owner, like, have you heard more? Like, it said she was coming here, like, where is she? Blah blah blah. And yeah, this book was very entertaining, and like I said, the twist at the end, I genuinely was like, yes absolutely, I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, this was 4 stars. I loved it. Very entertaining. I'm glad I read this book. And then literally right after that, I read Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. Again, I think I started Geneva Rose and I was like, yep, you are about to be my favorite thriller author. And yeah, this book was also very entertaining, and I forget exactly what happened, but it turns out like I don't think I saw the twist coming, but like it made a lot of sense after reading it. So yeah, again, don't remember exactly what happened, but I'm pretty sure there are bodies found at the bottom of their house, and the siblings are like, what the fuck is going on? So yeah, that I think, honestly, I don't ever remember, but yeah, this book was 3.5 stars. Entertaining, but not as good as the first one that I read. Next up, I read The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. Genuinely, I think after reading this book, I was like, okay, like, If I'm not mistaken, they meet like a million years ago and he does something that she doesn't like, so she curses him. And then when they get back together in the future, she realizes that her curse is actually affecting the entire town. And that is all I remember about this book. And they needed to like break the curse or something like that. That's all I remember about this book. It was very mid. I gave it 3 stars. I honestly don't remember anything else about the book. And I have the next book in the series, The Kiss Curse, and I'm gonna read it because I have it. So yeah. Next up, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I read this on my Kindle and I loved the story so much. I gave it 4 stars. I still think a 19-year age gap is a little bit much. Like, yeah, I think a 19-year-old age gap might be just a little bit too much, but the ex-boyfriend's dad trope, I think, is about to be one of my favorite tropes. Like, hello? Like, screw you, I'm going after your dad. Anyway, I thought it was very entertaining. Like I said, like, yeah, it was very entertaining, but I just, like, the ending was a little bit weird because I'm like, 19 years. 19 years is a big age gap, especially when you're a 19-year-old, Like, it's just, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next up, I read Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. I was obsessed with this book. Like, I always love a good fake dating story. Like I said, that's probably one of my favorite tropes. If I didn't say that already, I'm gonna say it. There's a lot of favorite tropes that I have. Yeah. Anyway, but he owns a cupcake shop, pastry shop, and she comes in and she's like, actually, this sucks. And he overhears that and he's like, well, and then it turns out they need to work together for whatever reason, one or the other. And they need each other to be fake dating. They need to fake date each other for whatever reason. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are gonna fake date, you suck me in. I don't care what the reason is. I will observe you fake date and fall in love with each other because that is how it has to happen. Anyway, I gave this book 4 stars. It was very entertaining. I loved it so much. Perfect summer read. Next up, I read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. I think this is book 3 in the series, and I didn't read book 2. I don't remember what it's called, but like, so far I have been obsessed with every single one of Ashley Herring Blake's books, and this was no surprise. This was a 5 out of 5 read for me. I love a good queer romance. I think I started listening to this audiobook and it sucked me in. I stayed up all night to finish the audiobook. That's how good it was. Like, I couldn't go to sleep because I needed to finish it. Yeah. But Iris thought she wasn't deserving of love. She's only gonna do one night stands. No one's gonna love me. Blah, blah, blah. And Stevie is a hopeless romantic, but she has so much anxiety. So everything gets in her way because she doesn't, she's awkward. And they meet at the club where Stevie is like, I'm gonna pretend to be somebody else. I'm gonna, ask a girl out, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, she and Iris meet. They have a very, very awkward one night stand. Like, I was laughing and giggling the entire time that scene happened because I was like, oh, what the hell? Anyway, so they part ways and then the very next day somehow run into each other and have to enter a fake dating relationship situation because someone may have been blabbing that she had a one night stand with somebody. Yeah. Anyway, this book was very entertaining, like so cute. I love queer romances. My little queer heart is just like giggling, kicking my feet all the time because I love when queer people are happy. Like, I'm tired of everything else. I'm tired of it. I just want queer people to be happy. Anyway, moving on. Next up, I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I started and finished this series in the month of August because, yeah, the books, they're very short, like 300-ish, 400 pages each, and they're very, very entertaining reads. Anyway, so this book follows a nerdy, like, math whiz who hires a SEX worker, an escort, to teach her how to get better at it. And, yeah. I'm just like, listen, she has spreadsheets and checklists and everything that she wants to follow. And Michael is just like, I thought I was here to teach you how to be better at this. Anyway, it was very entertaining. I gave it 4 stars. Like, this book was so funny. Like, honestly, very underrated. Like, I haven't heard much about this. I know it was popular back in the day, but I haven't heard much about it recently. And I think this book needs to make the rounds and come back and be popular again because it was extremely entertaining. Very entertaining. She has autism, so there's good autism representation in this. And it's just, I loved it. Super good. Super good. Love this book. Next up, I listened to Love Life Farms by B.K. Borison. I I love a good holiday book in the middle of summer. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm here for it. But yeah, like I've said a million times, fake dating, friends to lovers, I'm obsessed with those tropes. And this book had both of those. Like, I love it. I don't remember much else that happened in this book. I literally said nothing about this book because it was very entertaining and I want to read more books by B.K. Borison. So yes. Next up, I read Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I also tabbed this book genuinely. So I had listened to Heartless Hunter when I read it first because I was building furniture. This was right when I moved. I was building furniture, and that book was so entertaining. I think I gave it a 4.5 stars, 4.75 stars. And genuinely, I started this book and I think this book is like 400 pages, 450 pages, and I finished it in like 6 hours. I genuinely could not stop. I could not stop. This book, I have never been so excited to finish a story as I have been with this book. Like, genuinely, I started it and I was like, whoa. Like, Rune is such a badass, and I like characters, like strong female characters like Rune, gets me every time. My little queer heart is obsessed and falling in love with these fictional characters, with both Rune and Gideon. I am obsessed with both of them. But anyway, if you haven't read the Heartless Hunter Crimson Moth duet, this book follows Rune, who is a witch. So she is a socialite by day. However, she is a witch at night. She's called the Crimson Moth, and her task is to free the witches from these like witch hunters who keep capturing the witches. That is a terrible, terrible description. But like, she is a socialite by day and a witch by night, and she is called the Crimson Moth. And it also follows Gideon, who is a witch hunter and is currently hunting down the Crimson Moth. This is book 2, obviously, but book 1 ends in a very, 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 very interesting place, and book 2 picks right up, and I was obsessed. I am obsessed. You need to read this duet. It's so like such a fast, easy read. Yeah, 5 out of 5 for this book, 4.75 for the first book, but honestly, I can round up to 5 because both of them were so good, and I can't wait to reread this series. Like, genuinely, like I said, I have been reading such good fantasy books that I am just like excited to reread. Like, you know how I talked about Quicksilver and how it was a copy and paste? This was not a copy and paste. And this is why I think I love this book so much, is because I just like, it's something new, you know, it's something fresh, it's something new. I am tired of the same old stories. I want new things. I'm trying to not have my stash of books fall down, so we will see how this goes. But next up, I read The Bride Test by Helen Huang. This is book 2 in the Kiss Quotient trilogy. I don't know what they're actually called. I think it's called the Kiss Quotient trilogy, but this was a little bit different than I've read before. His mom finds him a bride back home in Vietnam and basically tells him he has the summer to fall in love with her and get married. And of course, she was not expecting to be propositioned to go to America and marry a man. She is like, absolutely, I will take the money. And you know, they end up falling in love with each other. But like, I thought this was very different. I gave this 3.5 stars, maybe 3.75 stars, because I think I liked the first one better than this one, but it was still very, very, very entertaining. Of course, they fall in love with each other, duh. But like, some stuff was going on in this book that I was like, oh, like, it was so sad, but also like very entertaining, very funny, very hilarious, but like also sad. So yeah, but like I said, these books are so small. They're 300-ish pages each, so they're so quick to read through, and I need them to be popular again because they're so entertaining. Next up, I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and thank goodness that this book restored my faith in Alex Michaelides because I was upset after The Fury. I was like, what the hell was that? And this book, I gave 4 stars, and it was very, very, very good. I never trust when the author paints a very vivid picture because that's never what actually happened. Like, if the author is leading you to believe one person did whatever they did, that's usually not the truth. And that's basically what happened in this book. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but like, you won't know until you read the book. Anyway, but yeah, like, I did not see the twist of who was actually murdering the girls. And yeah, this book was very entertaining. This was more dark academia, and I think this is one of the first dark academia books that I've ever read. So yeah, I had a great time. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and yeah, it was very entertaining. And thank you, Alex Michaelides, for not pissing me off for the second time in the past couple months. Yeah. Next up, I read Hold on, let me get my book that's falling down. Next up, I read Paris D'Aliancourt is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall. This is the same author who wrote Boyfriend Material, and I was entertained in the story. Like, I love a good queer romance, obviously. Like, this book follows Paris and what's his name? Tariq. And Paris has anxiety. I clocked that in like page 1. that he had anxiety because same dude, same. And his brain is always working against him, unfortunately. But his friend enters him into this baking contest because he's a very good baker. And there he meets, which is the contest is kind of like the Great British Bake Off, and they film in advance and then air the episodes, you know. But there he meets Tariq, who is also a great baker, and they get into a relationship, and he does stupid shit. He being Paris, they both do stupid shit and, like, you know, sabotage themselves, and yeah. But this was a very sad book, honestly, but also like very entertaining. Like parts of this book, I was like, yikes, that hits a little bit too close to home. But then other parts, I was laughing and giggling and kicking my feet. And I was just so entertained in this book. But yeah, I give it 4 stars because, yeah, I like it. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was fun. And there are parts of this book that honestly, like everyone needs to talk about more. And yeah, very good. Next up, I listened to the Pucking Ever After little novella. It came available on Libby, so I listened to it. But I gave it a 3 stars. It's still very entertaining. The spice was still a little bit too much. Like, it was so short and it was still so spicy. Like, hello. But yeah, I love their little family of 4, which is growing, obviously. If you have read the first book, you will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was very entertaining. I can't wait to read the next book in the series. Like, it might not be right away, but I will eventually get to the next book in the series. Next up, I read Husband Material by Alexis Hall. That is book 2 in the Boyfriend Material series, whatever it's called. I listened to that on audio. And this one, I didn't like as much. And the ending was very questionable for me. Like, it follows the same characters in the first book, Luke and the lawyer, forget his name. Yeah, but yeah, I thought the end was a little bit different. And I remember, like, again, he sabotages himself. I think Alexis Hall has a very good way of writing characters that just like do stupid shit to sabotage their relationships, and somehow it works out in the end. But anyway, it was entertaining. I give it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, but it was good. Next up, I read The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and I gave this book 3 stars because I both saw the ending coming and also did not see it coming, because you have to read the book to figure it out. But I genuinely, like, I clocked it right away, and I'm not going to say what it is because that kind of gives you the story. But yeah, Sarah is a lawyer, and she's a very, very good, successful lawyer, and her husband gets accused of killing a woman, and she is defending him. He's her husband, and she loves him, and yeah. Yep. But what the hell? Like, I knew exactly what happened. Like, I could figure it out right away in the beginning. But then I got to the end and I was like, but why? You know, like, I was like, why? Anyway, that's why I gave it 3 stars. It was very entertaining. I cannot wait to read The Perfect Divorce. So yeah, I'm excited for that book. Hopefully it's very good as well. Next up, I read Beneath the Stars by Emily McIntyre. This is her contemporary romance. This is part of the Sugar Lake series. And the rest of August, I honestly was like, I need to read through my physical TBR. So I was not listening to any audiobooks. I was just like reading my physical books, which is honestly so fun. So fun. I love that. But this book is so big. Like, it's 450 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars because I was just like, this was like 100 pages too long. You know, like, this book follows Alina and Chase. They meet when they're very, very young, like 13 or something, 11 or 13. I don't ever remember. 11 years old. They meet when she's 11, and she obviously has a massive crush on him, and he is a little bit older. So he's just like, nope, I'm gonna blah, blah, blah with other girls and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is they finally get together, and he moves to college because he's a little bit older than her. And then they are in a long distance relationship, and then it just like, it goes downhill from there. And it's so sad, and he breaks her heart, and it's just, this book pissed me off. Like, that part of the book pissed me off. But then multiple years later, fate kind of brings them back together in their small town, and he has to prove to her that he is not the same kid he was, because yeah, he was a kid, he was dumb. And she finally gets like the true story of what happened. And yeah, I was entertained. I give this book 3.5 stars because I think it was a little bit better than a 3. Like, it was not as mid as other books that I've read, but I am definitely taking my time to get to the rest of the series because I don't want to go into it while I'm still in a mid mentality, because I feel like I'm going to hate the rest of the books because of that. Anyway, moving on, my stack of books is like, it's right there now. Yeah. Next up, I read Consider Me by Becca Mack. This is book one in the Playing for Keeps series. I think it's so cute when the playboy, like super rich, this is also a sports romance, so like super rich hockey player decides to change his playboy ways for the sweet girl that he meets. And yeah, that's all I remember about this book. I also gave it 3.5 stars because I think it was better than mid, but I think everyone says the following books are much better than this one, and that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to a little bit better because again, this was like copy and paste hockey romance, and I don't know, it had some entertaining parts. Like the side characters, honestly, their stories were really more entertaining, and I hope we get more of them. So yeah. Next up, I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I loved this book. I think this was also kind of like a dark academia vibe, but this book follows 6 people who've got magical powers, and they kind of get recruited into this secret society, and they kind of find out that at the end of the year they get to join this like secret society, but one of them will not be part of the group that joins the secret society. And then also there's like a time traveling aspect in this book. Like I don't know if that's a spoiler, but there's a character in this book who I was like, whoa. At the end of it I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. So yeah, I am actually really excited to read The Atlas Paradox. Like I am hoping that I get more questions answered, and I love that this book, I kind of tabbed like very specific pages because I tabbed the pages that have art in them, and I think it is so fun. Like anyway, I know that that's character art of some of the characters in the book, so I am obsessed with this book. Like it was very different than the books that I've been reading lately, and that this is why I think like sometimes I just need a book that is just like completely different from what I've been reading, so that it just like brings me, like resets my brain, because otherwise I just keep reading books and I'm just like meh, and then I read a book like this and then it's just like, whoa, okay, that was really good. And then other books are like better in comparison. Does that make any sense? I hope I'm making sense. I really hope I'm making sense. Anyway, next up, I read Dream Girl Drama by Tessa Bailey. And honestly, with how excited I was to read this book, I'm kind of disappointed. This was definitely not my favorite Tessa Bailey book. However, it was entertaining. I gave this book 3 stars, but yeah, like I said, it was entertaining. This follows Sig and Chloe. They meet literally hours before they find out that their parents are now engaged. So they're about to become step siblings. And yeah. Yeah. So that's like the forbidden love of this book. And obviously they're not like biological step siblings. So like I think that is like less weird, but it's definitely weird when your parents are about to get married and you guys are obviously into each other. And like that follows his career, and like there's just like a weirdness about it. And then the end was, honestly, I enjoyed the end because I was like, yes, thank you, finally. And yeah, but yeah, it wasn't my favorite of Tessa Bailey. Like I've definitely, like the Au Pair Affair was so good, and I have read some crap books since then, and I still think about the Au Pair Affair that I was excited about this, and I think my expectations was just a little bit too high, and yeah, this did not deliver, unfortunately. But yeah, it was still entertaining, like I said. But yeah, next up I read Hook by Emily McIntyre. This is book 1 in the Never After series, kind of like our dark fairy tale retellings of our favorite like fairy tale stories. But yeah, I gave this book 3.75 stars because this is definitely better, I thought, than Beneath the Stars or whatever that book was. I thought this story particularly was more entertaining. This is literally like a Peter Pan retelling. Like it was so good, honestly, and it was very entertaining, very dark. Actually, it wasn't even that dark, but it was very like, you know, like ooh. You know, like, ugh. I personally love that, like, the villain of the story wanted revenge, and, like, he would do anything to get revenge, and, like, I thought that was really entertaining. But, like, yeah, this was a very entertaining book, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series, which means I need to find the rest of the series so that I can read them. So, yeah. Next up, I read the final book in this Kiss Quotient trilogy. This is The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This book was also a 4-star for me. I think this book brought the emotional damage that I obviously did not need. Like, genuinely, like, excuse me. Oh. Anyway, my stack of books just fell down, so I figured that was going to happen anyway. But This book, so okay, I don't want to spoil anything that happens in this book, obviously, but there were some things that gave me as a nurse some really, really, really bad like ethical issues. And okay, like I said, I gave this book 4 stars because it was so emotionally draining, honestly, but like I needed that. I needed something to like shake me out of some of the meh books that I read in the past couple months. And I don't think I can say what happened, but I will say that as a nurse, like I don't think I could do that. And I think that's why I was so torn in certain parts of this book. Anyway, Anna is a violin player. She is very talented. She's a very talented violinist. She became famous on YouTube off of one YouTube video, but like her life, she's discovering parts of her life that she didn't realize, like she didn't have, a word for. And her boyfriend or fiance or whatever says they need to go into an open relationship because he wants to sleep with half of San Francisco. Basically, because of course, men. And she decides that, okay, since we're opening this relationship and you're obviously sleeping with other people, I'm going to do the same. So she attempts, I think 5 times to have a one night stand with this one dude, Quan, and they keep not being able to go through with it. And I'm going to end it there because like, yeah, this book was very entertaining, like I said, and very emotionally like heart-wrenching and good. And I'm so glad that I finally read these books. And like I said, I think I've said it for all of them now, but I want these books to be popular again because they're so good. Like they're so underrated and so good. And I love that. Last but not least, I actually just finished this yesterday on my Kindle, but I finished Brain Damage by Frida McFadden. I have been reading this book, honestly, I think for like 5 months at this point. And every time I pick it up on my Kindle, I've been picking it up when I'm at my allergy appointment. So then it's been I'll read a couple chapters and then I'll be done. Then I'll read a couple chapters. So yesterday I was like, I'm just going to finish it all because I wanted to do this video today. But yeah, I knew what was going to happen. I give this book 4 stars. It was still very, very entertaining, but I absolutely knew. I knew that he was an absolute piece of shit, and that's all I'm going to say. This book was super interesting. She is a doctor and she gets shot in the head. So she's now at this like recovery hospital as she's healing from this, brain damage. And she is figuring out and trying to remember exactly what happened and who shot her. And I will tell you, I knew that the person who did, I knew that from the beginning because this person is an absolute piece of shit. Yep. But yeah, this book was very entertaining. Glad I finally finished it. And now I can start on my next Frida McFadden book, which I think is Do You Remember? And I've had that book on my shelf now and I need to read it. Like, I don't understand how I haven't read it yet. Anyway, this video has been so incredibly long. I feel like I've been talking forever, but thank you so much for sitting through me talking about the 45 books that I read in the past couple months. My next videos will not be as long. I guarantee that. I literally start school, I need to start doing my schoolwork like now, and I will not have as much time to read. So yeah, we're gonna roll with it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you coming here and listening to me yap about books. Like, I don't understand the 3 people who are watching this video. Thank you so much for watching me yap about books for like an hour straight because yeah. I recently redid my bookshelves and did a very in-depth bookshelf tour where I show you every single book that I own in my physical library. So I'm so excited. I think that video is either already up or will be the next video to come up. So yeah, go watch that if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment of your favorite book that you have read so far this summer. I think my favorite is a series and it has to be an Emma and the Ashes series or the Crimson Moth duet. I think those 2 because I'm just like, I love them so much. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to pick these books up from the floor and put them back onto my shelves, and I will see you in my next video.